In this video, we're looking at simultaneous equations with three unknown variables. So if you have three unknown variables, you will need three equations to solve it. If you have three and you only have two equations, you can't do it. So that's important to note. Now the example we're going to look at is one of the more simpler simultaneous equations with three unknown variables. They've been nice and given us straight up an equation that says x equals -2. But the same principles apply that you would apply with simultaneous equations anytime. Substitution method is probably the way to go. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to work with two of our simultaneous equations first. So here's number 1, number 2, and number 3. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to work with number 1 and number 2 first. Now fortunately, like I said, we have x here and we have an x here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to substitute this in here. So where that x is in number 2, it's going to change to -2. So what I get is 2 times -2 minus y equals 4. So I get -4 minus y equals 4 here. Then what I can do is plus 4 plus 4. I get -y equals 8. And then what I can do is just swap the negative signs from negative to negative. And I'm left with y equals -8. So now what I know is that x equals -2, y equals -8. Now, knowing that, I can substitute these into my equation 3 up here. So what's going to happen is this x is now going to go here, and this is going to go here. So what I end up with is -2 minus 8 plus 6z equals 0. Now what I can do is simplify that down. So what I end up with is -2 plus 8, because a negative and a negative make a positive, like that. Now I can simplify this down a little bit further. I end up with 6 plus 6z equals 0. Minus 6 minus 6. I end up with 6z equals -6. And then I can divide by 6 to get rid of that there. And I'm left with z equals -1. So now I have my three solutions. So it's always, again, nice to write a little concluding statement. The solutions are x equals -2, y equals -8, and z equals -1. So as with all simultaneous equations, it's important here to identify where you can substitute some values in. I tend to try to work with two equations at the start. That way you're able to find out what your variables are. Alright, so always try to identify what one variable is and then work with that to get the others. So in this case we were given x, fortunately. I could substitute that into equation 2, which gave me my y value. And then since I had x and y, I could substitute that into number 3 to get my z value.